Yes, so I will introduce our next speaker, Mr. Deepak Daga. Actually, I could not find his profile online, so I approached him. I said, sir, I can't find your profile online. And he was very kind enough to send me his profile, so I'll read that. Mr. Deepak Daga is a rank holder chartered accountant, company secretary, cost accountant, and CFA. He's also a silver medalist from IIM Calcutta. He has 12 plus years of experience spread across corporate, investment banking, and consulting. He's currently an associate partner with McKinsey & Company, and prior to this was leading M&A and private placements for Credit Suisse in India. He also has co-authored a book on financial instruments. He likes to spend his free time with family, enhancing spirituality, and reading about economic and financial events. This was the profile which Mr. Daga had sent me. लेकिन इसके अलावा भी मैं कुछ पढ़ना चाहूँगा क्योंकि मैंने इनका नंबर लिया तो मुझे इनका व्हाट्सएप मिल गया. तो इनके व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस मैं पढ़ना चाहूँगा क्योंकि इनके व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस इनका जो था मुझे बहुत पसंद आया. उससे पहले मैं ये भी बताना चाहूँगा कि डागर सर के पिताजी फादर भी यहाँ आए हुए हैं, उनके लिए भी ज़ोरदार तालियाँ. इनका व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस ये है कि क्या सफलता पाएगा वो जो रहता निर्भर गैरों पर. क्या सफलता पाएगा वो जो रहता निर्भर गैरों पर, मंजिल तो उसके कदमों में है जो चलता अपने पैरों पर. इसी के साथ जोरदार तालियों से प्लीज वेलकम मिस्टर डागा.
Thank you all. Two disclaimers. One, obviously, that my introduction, which I read, was edited by someone else. It's just forward, so you can take that with a pinch of salt. And second, I think the chartered accountant with Vishal was talking about is actually me only. That's where it all started. And suddenly realized, boss, you are the one. But thank you. You know, it's an honor and privilege to be here at the firm's retreat. And as I was thinking about the topic to speak for this one, I thought I should just try and relate it to the entire objective with which Nishith Bhai kind of founded this place, this Imaginarium, right? Deep thinking and real impact, the real questions which we want to kind of solve. So there are a bunch of questions, right? Since my childhood, I have been like grappling with, and at some point in time, I think some of you might have, right? And those are like very, very basic questions, more like, who am I? Why I'm here, right? What's the objective of life? Where do we come from? Where do we go, right? Some of those questions. And in fact, some of my friends, they still kind of pull my leg. This was my first year of St. Xavier's College in Calcutta. And I was just entering the class, and Father Felix Raj was the principal at the college. He just asked, you can ask me any questions. And the question I asked him was, who are we? Are we living in an illusion? Is this a simulation going on? And he was like, what? Are you kidding me? So I think, I'm going to just use this for some of the quotes I'm going to just read. And that will be like very interesting. And my life so far has been kind of an effort to try and find answers to some of these questions. And it's kind of still in a refinement mode. Every day kind of I learn more and it keep on refining. And why it is relevant, right? I think once you are able to clear this entire clutter, and you have very clear thinking about what's the objective of you being here, you are able to unleash the best out of you, both in the professional and kind of in the personal world, right? And that's very, very important for all of us. Now let's step back, right? I think all of us are aware about Metaverse, given that has been spoken a bit early in the session here. But again, just to kind of, for the sake of repetition, for those who don't know, Metaverse is essentially just kind of an replica of yourself created in a digital world using AR, VR, where you have in your avatar and you interact with folks in that. It's just an illusion. It's not a reality. It's a parallel universe which is being created out there with an impression where you feel almost like being real, right? And of late, the stuff which you see on the Metaverse space is very, very interesting. People are really, if you actually go on the net and read about what folks are doing on the Metaverse space, people are more worried about their dressing and costume in the Metaverse environment than in the real life. People are buying plots in Metaverse. People are fighting in Metaverse space. And there are issues of sexual harassment as well in Metaverse space, right? And then I was like, hang on, wait. what's going on here? Right? I thought this was kind of an illusion. And then I tried relating some of these to the earlier questions which I kind of posed, right? If I were to just look at our life itself, right? What it is, right? We are born, we do study, some of us do entrepreneurship, some of do jobs, you get married, you have kids, your family, society, someday you die, right? And in between, obviously, you buy some plots and bunch of the other things, like dresses and all those, all we spoke about we did in the metaverse world, right? So if you think fundamentally, isn't that we are also in a way living a metaverse version of ourselves? And what we are here today may be itself a metaverse, and the true self of ours is maybe something very different, right? So those were some of the questions, right, which came to my mind. And there, I would like to quote this. And actually, honestly, if you also relate, in the metaverse world, the way you enter the metaverse arena is through your virtual reality headset, right? For us, that virtual reality headset is what we call Maya, right? That's essentially because of that Maya vision in front of you, you are illusioned or delusioned to kind of think in a very, very different manner versus what probably your true self is. And there I would like to quote this, a quote from Gita, Mame vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana man sastha nindriyani prakriti sthati karsati. This is Gita chapter 15, verse 7, where Lord Krishna says that all the species on this planet are essentially a part of me, and all of them have come through me only. And the reason you have this illusion is because of your man combined with your 6 indriyas kind of creates an illusion, and with the effort of the Maya, you're not able to see the true self of yourself. Yeah. Now, unfortunate fact is that very few of us are able to actually realize this, and there are only few wise and the learned says who during their lifetime actually realize this, live a particular way of life, and then probably attain moksha or whatever, right? For most of us, unfortunately, either it's post-death or on the deathbed, or like a very, very near, interaction with the death, right? In some point in time of your life, and then probably somewhere you come back. I would say probably I have been a bit of lucky in that sense that I didn't have to, while I'm not the enlightened one, for sure, I don't claim that, so I'm not in the other extreme, but fortunately, I've also not been the other extreme to be waiting till my death to realize this. I had some almost, I would say, near-death encounters or some experiences in my life, and which is essentially what I'm going to share today, which kind of, keep on made me thinking, is this real? And again, the same questions which I kind of posed to some of you earlier, right? Experiencing death is probably one of the most liberating experience one could ever have, right? Because once you realize that there is nothing to lose, right? Once you're dead, there's nothing to lose. Then it's done. Then there is no, thinking about anything on the earth. And I would like to quote this from Steve Jobs' famous Stanford speech, right? And I quote, "Remembering that I will be dead soon is the most important tool I have ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassments or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart." Right? So the day one realizes that you are kind of in a metaverse, then you are no more fearful. You are not chasing money anymore, right? You really want to do stuff through which you can kind of make an impact in the life. And it's very interesting, actually, if we go through history, right? And we can obviously debate about it, and we should. The people who have made their names in the pages of the history are not necessarily the ones who have generated the most of the wealth, right? They're not necessarily the billionaires. Those are the folks who actually changed or made some impact in other folks' life, right? So even for that matter, if you argue that in history, we have a lot of these kings who have made to the history book, but that's also because they have made real impact. Like kings like Ashok, post the Kalinga War, they totally transformed themselves and went in a very different direction. or for that matter, Chandragupta Maurya, Samudragupta, you pick any name, right? So history, the people who have been able to bypass this cycle of death are essentially folks who have been able to rise above self, realize that there is an end to this physical form of existence, but there is a way to be immortal by doing something much more beyond yourself. So with that, probably I'll start with the first story. The first story is about living a fearless life. I'm sure all of you are aware about this Mount Kailash, right? That's about 6,000 feet, slightly lower than Mount Everest, which is 6,000 square meters, 6,700 to be precise, slightly lower than 8,800, which is Mount Everest. But interestingly, that's the only peak in the world which is still continues to be unclimbed, right? Except for one person, which is Milarepa. He was a Buddhist, rather Tibetan Siddh, who kind of climbed that 1,000 years back, and that was through his yogic kriya and all those, right? Again, given my spiritual nature, I was always pretty much inclined toward Mount Kailash and all those. Fortunately, unfortunately, never had that courage or the push really to do that. 2019, is when suddenly, that urge came to me, and I was just reading it somewhere when Swami Vivekananda goes to Ramakrishna Paramhans and asks him that can you just help me, meet the God? So Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans takes him to a river, the river Ganges, puts him inside the river and just keeps his head holding for literally 50 seconds. And he started shaking and shivering. He's saying, what the hell you are doing? I'm going to die. He said, the kind of urge you had to come out of the water, the day you have that urge to meet the God is the day you're going to meet him, right? So that's very critical. I would say luckily, probably, it was God's grace or something. I somehow got that urge in year 2019 to do this stuff. And I did enough research on the media and YouTube and a bunch of other things, right, which all of us do, to kind of go in that journey. Few things I found out was probably it can be fatal as well. I might end as well dying there. So I prepared a full Excel with all my financial details and all those, shared with my family, and just told them. They are like, what the hell? I said, don't worry, nothing will happen, but theek hai, rakh lo ye wala. I don't know, right? So I think with that idea, I went for that journey. It's a typically 9-day journey. You take a bunch of helicopters, right? So there are various places. You go to Nepal, China, and Tibet then eventually. I think the interesting part starts when you reach Lake Mansarovar, which is on the day 5th. You are essentially almost like 15,000 feet level, and it takes a fair bit of time to acclimatize yourself with that kind of climate and the altitude. And the way it works in that system is you enter as a group, as a part of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, because that's how the Chinese government try and push Indians not to be there. So we were a group of 33. You enter as a group, and you have to come out as a group. That's a way also to kind of keep a check and balance to ensure, like, lunatics like me may not end up just decide to sit there and do tapasya, right? So in a way, given it's a group visa, everyone is forced to come back, and everyone takes care of each other that you come back out of it, right? So once we reach Mansarovar, I think 50% of us fell ill. High fever, people are vomiting. In fact, a couple of our group members has to be airlifted because they were such in a bad condition, right? And I think there, almost everyone has made a mind that it's not worth going further, because you reach Mansarovar Lake. After that, you need to do a 42-kilometer parikrama of the Kailash mountain, right? That's what's supposed to be. Most of the folks reach the Lake Mansarovar, but that parikrama, so folks who claim that I have gone to Kailash, you should actually vet them, that have you actually done the parikrama or have you gone to Mansarovar Lake? Most of the folks will be just going to the Mansarovar Lake and coming back, right? But there's a part beyond that as well. The next day, we kind of go to, there's a place called Derapuk, or rather not Derapuk, it's called Yamdwar. So that's the place where your actual journey starts. When we reached there, 29 of 33 folks decided not to move ahead. And they just walked out of it. But obviously, given group visa and all those, they couldn't convince the other 4, including one was I as well out there. And we said, boss, we are nothing doing. We are here to do this stuff. And anyways, I have shared my financial details with my family and all those. and probably they will get some good life insurance coverage as well. I've given them company policy details and all those, so I'm okay, I'm covered, right? So we decided with that, so 4 of us kind of moved further out there. The first day you stop at a place called Dera Pok, and to reach there you broadly cover 12 odd kilometers. That's the track you need to cover. Once you reach Dera Pok, you can see the northern face of the Mount Kailash, right? And there is a glacier which is coming out of straight out there. For people who actually want to go and touch the Mount Kailash, you need to walk another 5-7 kilometers in that glacier actually to touch the Mount Kailash. So again, of the 4, like 2 of us decided to again try our luck with that. We did that. Luckily, we did reach there. We could see Mount Kailash, and probably you can say it was sheer luck out there. Like out of nowhere, while we reached there and we were doing the worshipping and all those, a bird came flying, and it literally disappeared in like 5 seconds as well. It just came, stayed near us, and just went out, right? And that was probably some motivation for me to doing this stuff, right? 5-7 kilometers fighting with balanced 30-odd folks who didn't want to do this journey and probably were cursing me that I'm risking their life as well by forcing them to stay there. Then we come back and kind of sleep that night. The next morning is again the journey starts for the next round of 22 kilometers, followed by the 8 kilometers, which will happen the next day. Rest of the 3 members then decide not to do this. And then probably I was the only one who kind of left to do this. And few interesting facts. I have never done trekking in my life. And I probably thought that it's okay to kind of wear sports shoes for going to Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. I also thought probably it's okay not to have a walking stick for the Yatra. I was not having any raincoat, and it does rain quite frequent out there. But still, like I said, inside I was, like I said, I'm covered, it's fine, I die, doesn't matter, like people generally will be okay in my family. So I decided to continue that Yatra with sports shoes, which were, I think probably 1 kilometer I started the Yatra, were like literally torn. Literally, I had no shoes, like, that's it. It was like full, the bottom is gone, and you're like walking, okay. When you do that Yatra, there is a place called Dola Pass, which is about 18,000 feet. That's one of the highest point you need to reach. And to reach that Dola Pass, you need to climb about 3 kilometers of the steep mountain. You go up, and then you go down. And there is only just one single way of going there. So you will have a pass where you are also walking, and the ponies are also walking along with you. And there's a fair bit of chance either of you will fall, either a pony or you will fall in the side, which is kind of a deep trench out there. We continued that Yatra. And unfortunately, given the rest of the team members decided not to come with me, I was kind of forced to finish that entire 30 kilometers thing instead of 2 days. I was forced to kind of finish that in 1 day itself. Luckily, things kind of worked out. I did finish that. And after the Yatra, again, kind of one more miracle happens. As I finish that 30 kilometers, I come back. And I come back to the base camp where 3 other members have been waiting for me who did the first day of the Yatra. I meet a Tibetan family who suddenly again kind of come there, and they see my feet and they see, there are no shoes out there. They immediately, when I return, I am like literally flat. I'm just lying on there like done. So they take some of my other group members, insist them to buy shoes for me. I think these are the one, if I'm not wrong, to buy shoes for me, right, given I don't have. And then again, after like 10, 15 minutes, suddenly, they're gone, right? I also tried figuring out who were there, what they were doing, and all those. Now, this can be pure coincidence. This can be my own way of justifying the unnecessary pain that I took it, right? But I think the bottom line which I want to bring out here is that once you become fearless, and once you have risen above the fear of the death, your ability to take risk and do real stuff in life is much more higher than it vice versa, right? So that's one key message I would like to bring out, right? And and applies in your life as well, right? If you really, really want something, you will get it. But you have to want it really, right? That's the message which Ramakrishna Paramahans gave to Swami Vivekananda as well, right? The only thing which kind of restricts you from achieving your goal is you, right? And I repeat, the only thing which stops you from achieving your goals is you, right? And as Lord Krishna says in Gita as well, Atmev Hatmano Bandhuratmev Ripuratman, right? You are your own friend, you are your own enemy, right? So there's no one else to blame on this planet. So that was more about living a fearless life. The second story is about living life beyond life, right? It's about immortality. What do I mean by that? So I lost my mother 7 months back, and I was very close to her, very, very close to her. Like the amount of stuff I used to share with her and seek her guidance. So it was a very tough time, and honestly, that 13 days, post the death when you need to do the tarpan and all those, and given I was in Calcutta, where fortunately we have River Ganges out there, every day I went to River Ganges to take the dip and do the puja. Every day I had the same thought is, should I just be ending my life at that point in time, right? Given I was very, very, very close to her, right? So probably my position was more like what Arjuna had in Gita, right? Where you entered the battlefield and then suddenly you are like, no, I'm not going to fight. Like, I'm just going to sit back and, Krishna, what the hell is going on? What's the point? Why we are fighting and all those, right? So I also had like a similar kind of a thing that, what's the point of all this stuff, right? If it's going to if it's going to end in such a tragic manner, anyways, we are not going to take anything from this planet, then why worry? Just relax, right? What's the point of working hard, blah, 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 right? That typical dilemma which you have in life. Then I just recalled, and I do read Gita a bit, so I recalled what Krishna said to Arjun in the Gita as well. Two things he told him. He said, look, Arjun, if you're not going to kill any of these Kauravas out there, they're still going to be killed. And he shows him his Virat Roop and all those, right, where everyone was almost dead out there, right? And he said, so don't think that you are very important or, you are actually killing them. There's a game plan which is already in set. I'm just giving you a chance, right, to justify your existence. If you don't do it, that's fine. That's your call, right? But that way you are going to only bring, misery to yourself, and probably people won't be talking not so glorious things about you, right? And that's where, again, one more quote is, Swadharmapi chakshavu vikampitarsu dharma yuddha chema nimikshetra na vidyate. Is basically Krishna telling Arjun that this is the dharma yuddha, and you should not be shying away from fighting in this dharma yuddha, right? This is an open door to heaven, so you should not be shying away, and you should just fight with it. And if you actually fundamentally think, right, what all we are, right? We are essentially a bunch of actions, emotions, thoughts, right? That's what we all are. And if that's true, then what's the way to immortality, right? Once you die, right, if you have been able to impart some of these things to other people on this planet, that's your way to become immortal on this planet, right? And then I said, okay, let me look back. There are really, really good things which I learned from my mother, right? Whether it's being righteous, perseverance, courage, right? And the list can go on. So probably the way to keep her alive is to continue to follow some of the learnings which you got from her. Right? So I think that's the second part of the story. So it's about the first part we spoke about. When you are leaving, you got to be living a fearless life, right? Because anyways, everyone is going to die at some point in time, but the window you got here, you might as well do something great. And once you have lived a fearless life in that window, and having known that while you won't die, you being an Atma, but there will be obviously an end of your bodily existence on this planet that has to happen at some point in time, your ability to do things very differently, again, make real impact on this planet, kind of significantly goes up. And probably I will, again, and probably that's your path to immortality. I think this human body which we have been given to her is kind of a great opportunity. And it's an opportunity to create something bigger than ourselves, right? If you look at other species on this planet, right, all the other animals, I think they have a real struggle every day in the morning they wake up, right, to find food. I think that's the first thing, if you look at a dog or a cat and all those, until unless those are domesticated, but there are few of them are lucky, right, to be domesticated by some of us, right? Rest all species have this real struggle on a daily basis. We, I think, in a way, has been slightly better placed in that sense. So I think it's a rare opportunity to kind of unleash the best out of you. And as probably Tulsidas kind of also lays this, Bade bhaga manush tanu pava sur durlabh sab granthani gawa. So, it's a very, very privileged place to be, and let's kind of use it very wisely to probably try and be a bit of immortal of us while we leave the planet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I don't have any strategy on this, but one thing I can say, that you have spoken on a topic which is very close to my heart as well. Just one thing I'll add to what you said, actually. You spoke about Gita, you spoke about, I really liked the topic. You spoke about whether this is also an illusion. I won't cite Gita, but Adi Shankaracharya, around 2005 years ago, he also said the same thing. The entire Vedanta philosophy is on the concept of we are nothing and I am nothing, and we know nothing. So we don't exist. So an 8-year-old Adi Shankaracharya, when he was talking to his guru, I think Govindanath, Nirvana Shatkam, when he explained the entire thing, he said the same thing, that we don't exist. And actually, I discussed these things with a few of my colleagues, and they don't seem to be very interested. So, we will discuss this. And I won't take names, but my best friend is Afan. So, we will of course discuss this offline. But I was actually telling him that we saw that movie Matrix, right? It was released in 95, 96, and it spoke about simulated reality. And we said, boss, what a concept, right? 2005 years ago, that man said the same thing, right? The Vedanta philosophy says that you can imagine, see, when you're playing a video game, as you said, the video game, the characters don't know that they're the characters. They think that they're the real people. In the same way, we can just be an imagination in the dream of that Lord. So we can go on, but so we'll discuss this offline. But thank you so much. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you very much.